How many of us are currently or have ever been in sales? Okay, I figured there would be more hands than that. But, of course, you are in sales no matter who you are. I mean, you gotta sell things to you gotta sell your spouse on ideas like, hey, this is where we want to go for a vacation.
I need a new truck.
I need a new truck. We have to sell our kids on the fact that, yeah, it really is important to brush your teeth every day because you'll look silly when you're 22 and you don't have any teeth. They all just rotted out. So you got to, sell them on that, convince them on that. And so a lot of us are in sales, even though we may not think of our job or position as actual sales. But how do we have a better sales system? Well, one thing that we can do is we create a model, and many times we can duplicate someone else's model. What do they do to capture their sales? How can we take that, apply it to our business, and perhaps even improve upon it? For most of us, it would be a stretch to say that the majority of companies have fair to poor customer service, with being put on the eternal hold 6-hour appointment windows. If anybody's had their cable connected, yeah, we'll be there sometime between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. That's not an appointment. That's called a day where I live. But our relationship is being dictated by their policy. It's a fair assertion. Everyone wants to get what they paid for, but we're less likely to buy again if the exchange was not a satisfying one to begin with. And I heard a quote last week that I really liked, and I don't know if he originated it or not, but he said, price is what you pay. Value is what you get. So, are you paying for value? And if so, was that a fair price? Are you getting what you paid for? Well, there's some fill in the blanks that you have on your little sheet there. The majority of experiences are based on how a customer feels. How does a customer feel? Were they satisfied with a sales transaction? Only they can answer that. And if they didn't feel good about it, then they're probably not going to buy from you again. Now you can say, I delivered on time. I gave you a 15% discount. I gave you 10% more. I waited around to make sure that the system was properly implemented. All this is important. All this is logical and rational. But if they don't feel good about the transaction, it was a bad transaction in their mind. Saving money, getting money, it's a great thing. But at some point, money only goes so far. And so we have to remember, price is what you pay. Value is what you get. What are we giving our customers? So it really is the majority of the experience is based on how a customer feels. And has anybody here ever been to Trader Joe's?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, a couple of us. Okay, I think there's one coming to town, isn't there? Yeah. Okay, so there's one in the Green Hills area.
Right.
And I've heard so many good things about their customer service. And when I hear about good customer service or bad customer service, there's a barbecue joint in Franklin that's supposed to be like the worst customer service ever. And I want to go check it out because I got to experience that for myself. But Trader Joe's has always been said to have the best customer service. They really take care of their people.
Owned by Aldi's.
They are now, yes. They were bought probably about 2-3 years ago. But even before then, they had this wonderful reputation. So I went in the very first time, and I just kind of walked in, hands in my pocket, just kind of looking around. And usually at Publix or Kroger, and Publix has pretty good customer service. But at some other grocery store, they would just kind of let me, and I had an associate come up and said, sir, can I help you find anything? I've never been here before. I'm just sort of looking around. And she said, oh, well, let me tell you about, our produce is really especially fresh. And if you've never been here before, in the back corner, there's all kinds of cool free samples, like different types of coffee you can try, and it's a big thing. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'll go over there and I'll check that out. And so I did, and I picked up a few things, and I was going back through the line, the cash register, to check out. I'd just gotten a couple of items, and the cashier just starts chatting me up, just having like an actual conversation with me. And I said, well, this is my first time. I've heard that it's quite a little. I've heard people describe it as a mini vacation to go to Trader Joe's. And so he said, oh, this is your first time? Well, hey, hold on a minute. And so he went and he pulled off the rack like this $5 bag that says Trader Joe's on it. And he's like, here, let me give you this since this is your first time here. And you're just like, I'm thinking, don't you have to pay for that or something? You're like, nah, it's fine. I got it. And so apparently there's certain things that they can do just to make you feel good. And I liked it. It was great. Customers who have had a bad experience are, fill in the blanks, how likely do you think to use a competitor next time? Twice as likely?
Probably.
At least 4 times. They are 4 times as likely to go to a competitor next time. And chances are, they may not even tell you. And I've been to Europe, I've been to Asia, I've been to some different places, and a lot of times, in like a bazaar, they'll haggle with you a little bit, and they'll talk to you, and and if it doesn't work out, well, if they don't have good customer service, a lot of times people will still try to engage to get a better deal. And that's not typically our culture here. We just like, oh, okay. We leave and go to someplace else, and they never know that they completely lost us as a customer. So customers who've had a bad experience are 4 times likely to go to a competitor next time. What percentage of customers with resolved issues, there was an issue, but then it was taken care of, said they would return to buy again? What percentage?
90?
Pardon?
90?
Good guess. It's not actually that high. I wish it were. It is still, I think, pretty high. 70%. So if they had an issue, things went south. Things didn't go the way they were supposed to, but the retailer fixed it. The company took care of it. There's a good chance that you can still keep them as a future customer. All right? It costs how many times more to attract a new customer as to work with an existing customer? How many more times? 7. 7 times. 7 times more money. 7 times more experience, work, effort put into it to get a new customer as it is to just sell to an existing customer. Okay? But think about these things when you develop a model for your own self. If you have a business, if you're in sales, if you're ever in sales, develop your own model. Has anybody ever been to Chick-fil-A?
Oh, yeah.
Chick-fil-A. And if you drink all your drink, and maybe someone comes to your table, and you say, oh, may I have a refill? What do they say?
My pleasure.
It will be my pleasure. It's not like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. It would be my pleasure. Like, they're there to make us happy. Gee, there's a concept. Yeah, it will be my pleasure. Do you know where they got that? The Ritz-Carlton. They took that little old Chick-fil-A. They took that from the 4-star hotel, the Ritz-Carlton. And that's been their practice for decades, is that if there's anything that they can help you with, it will be my pleasure to help you. And in fact, each employee at the Ritz may spend up to $2,000 to fix any problem that there is per customer. So if there's an issue and someone says, you know what, I got a leaky pipe here, and maybe it's the first day of the pool being open, so all the maintenance and plumbers, they're down there, working on the pool. So she's got to go and hire some outside plumber, like or some other plumber, to come in, pay them a few $100s. She just does it. She doesn't have to ask permission. And here's what the Ritz found out was when you empower your people and you trust your people, they take ownership. They don't want to spend the company dollar if they can avoid it. And so if it's something that they themselves could fix, or they know another way to do it the cheapest possible and still get the job well done, that's what they do. But they've empowered them up to $2,000 to fix any problem. It's amazing. Housekeeping, valets, whomever. So that's exactly what Crystals did. They just copied someone else's. So look for someone who's similar to you in your industry, and if they are known to have a really good customer service model, copy it.
I thought I had originally read it, but when I took an old copy and reread it several years ago, it dawned on me that I've never read this book. I was one of the guys that bought, just passed around. It was the first book to sell 1 million copies of a cassette tape.
Oh.
So I obviously looked at that because when I went back in what I thought was reading it for the second time, I realized that I hadn't read it before. I want to pick out just a couple of things here. This is something where you could do easily a speech on each chapter. I know that Mr. Blaine here, his favorite chapter is the final chapter, chapter 7, Sharpening the Saw. Mine is chapter 3, which I'll get to in just a second. Just to get in a couple of things here. The first habit is being proactive, and it's like taking that idea and making something happen. Here's a little quote, Henry David Thoreau. I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by conscious endeavor. I love that, and I ran into that before I'd ever read this book. Just the ability, we have the ability as humans to take a thought and better our lives and help the people around us. And Henry David Thoreau thought that was the most encouraging fact that there was, that we have that ability to do that just within our own mind. That's kind of that first habit of being proactive in thought, and you want to manifest that. If you go to the second habit, begin with the end in mind. If you're going to go to Destin, Florida, Miami, Florida, if you're going to go on a trip, you're going to go to Dallas, Texas, you know where you're going to go. You'll figure out, am I going to fly? Am I going to drive? You're going to get there. But you have to know where you're going. You have to kind of have a pretty good idea of where you're going. You can figure out the stuff in the middle. And you can't let those things stop you. You need to know the big goal. You need to have the why you're going to do something. And if you know where you want to go, you'll be able to get there. That's that second habit, and there's a lot of good things there. All this is extremely ethical, and it's based upon deep religious principles and not some flash in the pan type of stuff. The thing that I have always found to be my favorite habit is basically, now that you know you're going to try to achieve a certain goal, now you have to start to put this into practice. Putting first things first. It's kind of where time management starts to come in. This will be let me see if I can articulate this just a little bit to you guys. You've probably seen these matrices before, and this is this time matrix, from Covey here. You've basically got urgent, and we'll call this non-urgent. Have to forgive me here. Things that you need to do, what have you. And then you have important. So I want to just write important over here. And then you've got non-important. And everything you do is going to fall into one of these boxes. So why does this matter? Can you, urgent, up and down, not urgent, important, not important. Long story short, you want to try to get into this quadrant 2. They've actually got these numbers. This is quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're a professional and you have kids, you're a parent, you've got a lot of things going on in life and you're busy. And your life will tend to migrate up here. You're going to be doing things that are important and they're going to be urgent. The problem with that is you tend to get behind, like doing your taxes. When you do your taxes, you're doing them on April 15th. Are you changing your oil when the light comes on? Are you paying your bills when you're getting late notifications? You're doing stuff that's important and it's urgent, but you can get into a bad place. Non-urgent important is the destination. You want to get in front of all of these things in life. I'm going to go get an aerator and I'm going to aerate my yard after all of this rain. And I'm going to put seed down and I'm going to do something that's important to me, but I'm doing it before it becomes urgent, which would be late October and you're running out of time to do it. You want to be able to, you want to get your life to where you're spending most of your time doing your taxes in February, going to the gym, before you about to have a heart attack or whatever. You want to do what's important without having a gun to your head. A lot of people spend a lot of time down here. It's urgent, but it's not important. The phone's ringing, you got text going on, and somebody wants to do this, and let's go eat some food over here. And it's all these busy things, but they're really not important, but they're urgent because we got to go right now. Non-important, non-urgent would be a total waste of time. You might need to recharge your batteries sometime. Such as, this would be somebody playing video games. Totally not urgent, not important. It's a total waste of time. If you spend your life down here, you're going to end up under a bridge somewhere probably. Yeah. Over here, you're just doing things that really don't amount to anything. Here, you're at least doing important stuff, but you're maybe not in front of it or organized. This is where you want to get. You want to be dealing with these things that are important, and you want to be able to do them before they're urgent and you got a gun to your head. Chapter 3 is this in my most favorite book, which I reread about 2 years ago, and I remember you and I talking, and I told you that it changed me. Even though I had been through this before, when I went back through here and looked at this, it shocked me at how it had impacted me. So that's really the reason that I'm doing this speech. You're out of your mind if you don't take a copy of this. I got a copy of this right now in my office, sitting here. I pick it up almost every day and just read 60 seconds worth because it's just so loaded. This is very high calorie and it's an incredible book. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you want to learn how to organize your life and do it in a good, ethical way, I recommend this book for anybody.
I'm going to throw the question first and then ask for a volunteer because this is probably something that you may not want to share if I ask you when you're here. So I remember there was a time when one of our friends at work, he had some surgery on her throat, and everyone started the nickname the Godfather, okay, to him. And then we went into a meeting, and I actually didn't know about that surgery, so I only knew that he was the Godfather. Okay, and then we went into the meeting. We started. It was the boss actually, not my boss, but my friend's boss. And we started talking about the meeting, and then he started like, I would like to share something. And it was so funny to me. It was that kind of laugh that you just cannot control. So I ended up asking for the restroom, okay? So the question is, have you ever experienced that level of embarrassment before that you want to share? If you can think
I will.
All right, Danny.
I got two short stories to tell. It was kind of embarrassing, but
when I was young, I could sing pretty well, and y'all may have heard this story before. But I could sing, and we had a small family cemetery, and we had a funeral schedule, and so the funeral director said, "I understand you sing on special occasions," and I said, "I do."
You say funeral director?
The funeral director. He said, "I understand you sing," and I said, "I do." And he said, "Could you sing for Mrs. We'll call her Mrs. Snow. Can you sing at Mrs. Snow's graveside during the funeral?" And I said, "Sure, I can." And I said, "You just get me the song they prefer, for me to sing." And he said, "Okay." And so he went and talked to the older gentleman, and her husband was probably in his 80s, late 80s. And he came back with a list, and he said, mainly he wants you to sing Jingle Bells. And so I said, Jingle Bells? I said, that's pretty unusual for a funeral service. And he said, Mr. Snow said that was her favorite song. So I said, okay. So the funeral service, the minister turned it back over to the funeral director, and the funeral director gave me the nod, to start. So I stood in, dashing through the snow, and I had practiced it up, and everything, and then everybody was just standing there, like, what? And so I got through the song, and then whenever I got through with the song, Mr. Snow said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. That was supposed to have been when they ring those golden bells." That's pretty embarrassing. Back to you.
Thank you. Okay, the second one, would you like me to read it or just take it as
It's
surprise?
your call, man.
Yeah,
You're typical topics master. You get a little
Okay,
leeway.
I want to throw it, okay? I have a very weird dream that is my favorite, and I'm going to tell you every time when we are like having a drink or something. Do you have a favorite, very weird dream that you would like to share? It can be scary or something like whatever you have never dreamed.
favorite.
Everyone has given me very good answers. Yeah,
That's
I know
a hard
you
one, though.
I know everyone has something.
You can go to another question.
I can throw a different one if you don't. Okay, let's go to the next. Do you have a favorite food that you are embarrassed to share that you like it? And you wanna share it today?
I'll take that one.
Okay. All right, Mike.
Thank you very much. Favorite food that I'm embarrassed about. So I will say that one of the most favorite foods that I like, and for some reason, a lot of people like it, is sushi. A lot of people like it, but growing up, when I really liked it, I used to get teased about it so much because I liked all flavors of sushi, from the cucumber rolls to the raw stuff. And anytime my friends would come over and I was eating sushi, they would pick on me about it. And I never could understand why. And so whenever I went out with my parents or friends, or we would always go, and if they asked me where I wanted to go, it was to go out and get sushi. And then at school, people started hearing about it. And I'm talking about elementary school. Some of the friends started hearing about it, and they started getting interested in it. And they started to say, well, what is it? And so I would invite them over. We would make sushi or have sushi brought in, and I would share it with them. And they really liked the cucumber rolls. I'm sure everybody's had cucumber rolls before. But they would not really like anything that was supposedly raw. It could be shrimp. Well, not shrimp. That's not raw. Whatever it is. But they would at least try it. So I would say my favorite food that was brings up most embarrassing times was the sushi. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last one. Who wants to take it? I'm not gonna read it in advance.
I'll take it.
All right.
Okay. Okay, you wanna do it from your chair?
Come up.
Thank you. Okay, so what is your very favorite book, and why did you like it?
Oh, okay, that's it. My very favorite book would be one called Extreme Ownership. I used to. This is about one of the Navy SEALs that he served, of course, back in the 90s, I believe. Jocko Willing, I think his last name.
Wilco.
Well, yes, thank you. And so I used to deflect ownership or not take ownership of my acts, and I was introduced to that book, and actually that was the book that I'm actually into audiobooks, not really, because I had a lot of windshield time, so I couldn't leave the book behind, or I couldn't stop listening to it, and it took me, I think it was, I'm gonna say a day and change to like for these many hours of audio of this audiobook, but it changed my life. So it's just after that I learned that I have to be responsible whether they're good or bad situations. I needed to be responsible for what I did and the consequences. So that was my favorite book, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, and thank everybody for coming out tonight. And we did get started very close to our normal starting time, so that was really good. Let me get my agenda here. Now, our first speaker was Mr. Blaine, and evaluating Blaine was, who was your evaluator?
Me? Oh, Michael.
Michael. So Michael, would you come up and share with us Blaine's evaluations?
Absolutely.
All right, Michael.
Thank you. Blaine, you're always a tough one to evaluate because you've been doing this for so long. You're considered a master, and I will go through some of the things that I really appreciate hearing from you, and then a couple of tips towards the end on some things that I think, being a non-professional, that I think would be some room for improvement. I always like, and you seem to master this, your vocal tones. From the time you get up here, from the time to the time you sit down, your vocal tones are the different variety. You will start off soft, and then you will really increase it. You use your hand gestures extremely well. You master the room. You're walking over here, you're walking over there. A couple of times you've actually pounded on the pulpit, not pulpit. Yes, exactly. And so you do a great job with that. Eye contact, another thing. You master the room with eye contact. You're looking at every individual person, and you make that person feel like they are part of your presentation. And I think that's extremely important. You always include a story. You talked about your trip to Trader Joe's, and you talked about your experience there. And that, I feel, it helps the audience really feel, because everybody's been to Trader Joe's, or at least something like a Trader Joe's, and they've experienced the same thing. So you're bringing the audience in to you. At the end, and I think it was just a tiny little slip, you mentioned crystals, and maybe you were thinking about crystals instead of Chick-fil-A. I'm like, oh, wait, I want a crystal. It made me laugh typo, and so that's the reason why I just kind of brought that up. The only thing that tripped me up a little bit, and again, non-professional, is I was waiting to hear you say, all right, tonight I'm going to be talking about customer service, and here are the 4 points that we'll talk about, or something like that. Maybe that's not even part of it. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is what the person's going to be talking about, and maybe I just need to change that. That would be the only feedback that I would be able to give you on that. So, turn it back over to you. Thank you very much. Whoops, some of this might be yours.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. That was a good evaluation. Our next evaluator will be Edgar, and you'll be evaluating Barry's speech. So come on up, Edgar.
All right.
Thank you, Daniel.
You didn't expect to get put to work tonight, I don't think.
Yeah, Barry is always very hard because I personally admire very much your style, Barry. I'm not gonna talk about your topic because I think it was a bit like impromptu. Anyway, I appreciate the structure that you gave to the speech because you were like to the point. Okay, this is a very influential book. I wanna talk about this chapter and this other probably mention it and things like that. And I do appreciate that kind of information, especially this example, because I have to say that when I started working in my company, I was put here, like I was like the firefighter, okay? And I felt very good about that. But in the company, they had some kind of training. It was not like about the 7 habits, but I learned there that you have to move to this quadrant. And I started pushing towards that, and finally I did it, and I found that it is more appreciated that job. So it's a very good example, very good hands-on things that you can just do it. But mainly I would like to talk about the things that I personally think you do the best. I honestly think your body language is very, very good. It's very cool. You are just like, you talk in a very, very natural way. You explain the things. I mean, it's like you take things from here to there, and then you are kind of giving examples with your hands and your also with your body, because you are all the time and you are always remarking this to everyone, right? Like you have to move to this a bit and then to the other side, and you keep a very good dynamic in the lecture. So it's a very good. Also, you have a very natural way of talking. Every time I hear your speeches, I feel like I am listening to a real expert. Okay, so it's like as if you ask someone who has done that the whole life. Okay, it's like if you go to the church and you talk about God, and they are gonna, okay, very natural, right? So you have. And I don't know how you do that, but you every time you come here, you just feel very natural, like you really have a very good control of the topic and a very good planned speech. Even when sometimes, like today, I think you just made it all, right? Probably. And that's all I have to say. I was actually looking for some things to improve. I couldn't find. I mean, you are a very good speaker. So, thank you.
Thank you, Edgar. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, thank you.
So that gets our evaluations of our 2 speakers, and we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get a timer's report right now. So if you're ready.
All right. Just had a light crowd here tonight. Greetings, fellow Toastmaster members. We had done good on our speeches tonight and our table topics and evaluations. but it has been a great steadfast speech, but no one used the word of the day. So we're gonna start with the speakers. Barry, still 12 seconds over your 5 to 7 minutes with 7:42, but that's okay. Blaine, you did great on your speech, 11 minutes and 19 seconds. Table topics is 1 to 2 minutes. Everybody came within the time, which is great. Danny, you did it. Danny said you did it 2 minutes and 1. Michael Reed, 1:39, and Andreas G, 1:23. All within the time limit. Great job. And on a 2 to 3 minute evaluation, Michael 2:44, Edgar 2:52. All within the 2 to 3 minute time limit.
Thanks, John. You know, Barry, I enjoyed this chart that you did up here. And I hope this year we may go outside of maybe a little bit of our normal meetings. And that would be a great thing to touch base on people making speeches, you know, and these things here, important, not important, things like that. It would be great if we could sort of mentor, you know, a person, if you're mentoring, you know, to stay on track with that. Talk about the things that are important, leave the things not a whole lot important. Yeah. Go ahead.
I kind of want to say a couple of things.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. For some of you that have never done table or a pocket speech, this is just feedback from someone that's done a bunch of them, because there's dangers and things to be aware of. I've done, I don't know how many, 15 or 20 pocket speeches. Now, I do them because it's practice, to be able to get up and just put something together real quick, because you walk into somewhere and says to you, which happens to you a lot, blank, and you get up here and say something, you got to organize your thoughts. The thing that I was trying to do tonight that I failed to do, I have learned from doing these impromptu pocket speeches is that it's very difficult to know the time, because you're just getting up here and going at it. And I told him 5 to 7 because, you know, I figured it might be more, but I was trying to keep it short. If you're doing a pocket speech, it's hard to know the time, because you just don't, because you haven't done it before. The other thing that I was trying to do tonight, and I lost consciousness of it, is when you're doing a pocket speech, you're so focused on what you're trying to say, you're so focused on the material, that I feel like your actual presentation, if you could prepare a speech, you're going to be thinking about your presentation and moving around, and you're going to be able to think about your vocal variety and your volume. You're going to be able to think about that stuff. When you're doing a pocket speech, one thing I was trying to do to myself tonight is I'm going to do this pocket speech, but I'm going to stay aware of my presentation, and I immediately floated off and was focused on the material. So that's where I'm at in my pocket speech journey, is trying to learn when I'm getting up here and I'm doing a pocket speech to not be so focused on the content, because, you know, you haven't been prepared, that my physical presentation suffers because you're totally oblivious to the physical presentation, which is really important. Someone could get up here and do a horrendously pathetic speech as far as topic, but they could be technically great and look real good, and that's so important. My point is, it's hard to do the timing. You'll get so focused on the material. Try to be conscious of your actual physical presentation, because even tonight, that was my goal. And as soon as I got up here, right at the end, it's like it had slipped away, the thought of managing my physical presentation. Because a speech is two things: it's content and it's physical presentation. Moving around, controlling your voice, having your pauses. But you get up here on a pocket speech and you get so focused on what you're going to say that you forget the other. And I was trying not to do that tonight, and I immediately forgot it until the very end. So be aware of that.
All right, and one of the ones that we had in there, and this is a few years ago, but I don't think he got recognition for it. John Burge. for the completion of leadership, level 1 leadership development. There you go, buddy. Congratulations. Good job. Good job. And that person is not here. And if there were several, I didn't, like I say, I didn't make a copy of for every level, but just kind of the highest level that you made within a particular path. Level 2 mastery of level 2 of presentation mastery. Michael Reed, our secretary. Hey, Michael. There you go.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Good job on that. And we have for an entire path completed. So through level 5, we have for the successful completion of strategic relationships path, Mr. Danny Sapp. Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
Okay, how about that?
Appreciate that.
Good deal. And another path for the successful completion of presentation mastery, Danny Sapp. There you go.
Myself out.
Hang on, don't sit down. Hold on, buddy. Hang tight here. And for the successful completion of effective coaching path, Mr. Danny Sapp. There you go. Good job. Good job. And here's one that I received for dynamic leadership. I completed that path some time ago. Blaine Little. About 3 years ago. We're a little bit behind on some of this stuff.
A JJV television production.